Welcome to a journey through time where we'll explore 20 incredible things you could buy in 1970s London that have completely vanished from today's sanitized capital. Picture this, a grimy, vibrant metropolis where punk ruled the King's Road and platform shoes were the height of fashion. The London of the 70s was raw, rebellious, and refreshingly unregulated. But here's the twist. While we've gained smartphone apps and artisanal coffee shops, we've lost something far more precious, the authentic products that defined a generation. Ready to discover what we've sacrificed on the altar of progress? The Raleigh chopper wasn't just a bike, it was the ultimate status symbol for 70s kids. With its high-backed seat, chunky tyres and iconic ape-hanger handlebars, it transformed ordinary streets into California freeways. The MK1 launched in 1969 with its dangerous gear lever on the crossbar, while the slightly safer MK2 arrived in 1972. Costing around £34, nearly 2 weeks' wages, it was the must-have Christmas present many families struggled to afford. Lucky owners customized them with streamers, reflectors, and playing cards in the spokes for that motorcycle sound. The chopper's demise came with safety regulations and the BMX craze. Today, originals sell for thousands to nostalgic Gen Xers trying to recapture their youth. Before we move on, hit that like button if you ever rode a chopper, or desperately wanted one. Nothing screams 70s London like platform shoes and flared trousers, the uniform for anyone remotely fashionable. These weren't just clothes, they were rebellion against conservative styles. Platforms could add 4 to 5 inches to your height, transforming the shortest person into a towering figure on the dance floor. The most coveted platforms came from Carnaby Street and King's Road boutiques, costing around £15, nearly a week's wages. They weren't just high, they were art pieces, featuring glitter, metallic finishes, or even built-in goldfish bowls. Flares started modestly at the knee before exploding outward to 26 to 32 inches at the ankle. The combination was impractical but magnificent. Impossible to run in, lethal on stairs, and guaranteed to soak up every puddle in rainy London. The Woolworths Pick and Mix wasn't just a sweet counter, it was an institution and a rite of passage. For just a few pence, you could grab an iconic white paper bag and embark on a sugar-fueled journey of self-discovery. The counter stretched endlessly, filled with foam shrimps, cola bottles, flying saucers, and aniseed twists. The ritual was always the same, hovering over the counter, plastic scoop in hand, calculating how to maximize your haul, while the shop assistant pretended not to notice your occasional direct-to-mouth sampling. The true art was in the weighing, learning exactly how much you could get for your 10 pence. Woolworth's demise in 2008 took with it this cornerstone of British childhood. Today's pre-packaged pick and mix simply can't replicate the experience. The freedom, the sticky scoops, and that distinctive smell when you walk through Woolies doors. Hit that like button if you remember the sweet taste of Woolworths freedom. Subscribe for more nostalgic treasures. Before Virgin became an empire spanning airlines and mobile phones, it was London's coolest record shop. Richard Branson opened the first Virgin Records on Oxford Street in 1971, creating a mecca for music lovers. This wasn't just a shop, it was a cultural hub where you could spend afternoons browsing vinyl, using listening booths, and rubbing shoulders with rock stars. The store was revolutionary. Beanbags instead of rigid displays, knowledgeable staff, and midnight closing times when other shops shut at 5:30 p.m. Virgin stocked obscure imports mainstream shops wouldn't touch. For £2.50, you could experience the ritual of unwrapping an album, reading liner notes, and placing the needle on vinyl for the first time. The basement became legendary for its import section, where Japanese pressings cost a week's wages but came with exclusive tracks. Today's Oxford Street, dominated by candy stores and souvenirs, offers nothing remotely comparable. Biba wasn't just a shop, it was an alternate universe where ordinary girls could transform into exotic creatures. Founded by Barbara Hula Nikki, Biba opened its iconic Kensington High Street store in 1973. a 7-floor Art Deco dreamland selling everything from feather boas to baked beans in film set-like departments. The makeup was revolutionary. Dark, smoky colours in distinctive black packaging with the gold Biba logo. For a few pounds you could buy signature deep plum lipstick or the face powder that gave everyone that distinctive pale, ghostly Biba look. Clothes were equally affordable. £3 for a mini dress, making high fashion accessible to ordinary working girls. What killed Biba wasn't lack of customers. 1 million people visited weekly at its peak. It was the collision between creative vision and commercial reality. The building now houses high street retailers, symbolising how London traded imagination for sensible sandwiches. In 1970s London, cigarettes weren't hidden behind counters with health warnings. They were celebrated and accessible everywhere. Vending machines stood proudly in pubs, clubs, train stations and even some schools, offering 24-hour access to your favourite brand for just 20 pence a pack. No ID checks, just insert coins, pull the knob, and out came your Benson & Hedges or Players No. 6. For kids with limited funds, corner shops offered singles, individual cigarettes for just a few pence. The transaction was simple. Can I have a single embassy, please? The shopkeeper would open a pack, hand over 1 cigarette and take your 2 pence without question. Children often pooled pennies to buy 1 cigarette to share. The machines disappeared in 2011 when legislation banned them, while selling singles had been outlawed earlier. Today's heavily regulated tobacco market would be unrecognisable to a 70s Londoner. Bonfire Night. In 1970s, London was a weeks-long festival of controlled chaos where children as young as 5 could walk into a corner shop and emerge with enough explosives to start a small war. The crown jewel was the Fizz-Bang Wallop selection box, a cardboard treasure chest containing rockets, Roman candles, Catherine wheels, and those little tanks that shot sparks. For around £3, these boxes promised an evening of spectacular danger in your back garden. The illustrations depicted cartoonish explosions and delighted children standing impossibly close to what were essentially small bombs. Names like Silver Scorpion, Thunderclap, and the legendary Jumping Jack that chased terrified pets across gardens added to the excitement. Safety instructions were minimal. Light blue touch paper and retire immediately was considered sufficient guidance for children handling explosives. The Fireworks Regulations Act 1997 finally ended this glorious madness. Did you survive 70s fireworks? Comment your explosive memories below and subscribe for weekly nostalgia bombs. In the 1970s, London toy shops and corner stores sold realistic-looking firearms to children without a second thought. Cap guns were the must-have accessory for every kid playing cops and robbers. For just 50 pence, you could arm yourself with a die-cast metal revolver that looked and felt startlingly like the real thing, complete with moving parts and that distinctive gunpowder smell when fired. The caps came in red paper rolls or circular plastic rings containing tiny explosives that created a satisfying bang and puff of smoke when struck by the hammer. The smell was intoxicating, a mixture of gunpowder and childhood freedom no digital game could replicate. Enterprising kids discovered you could create a louder explosion by hitting an entire roll with a rock. These toys weren't confined to specialist shops. They hung on display in newsagents and sweet shops. Parents thought nothing of their children roaming the streets with realistic-looking weapons, a scenario that would trigger an armed police response today. Sure is a mighty chew. The Texan Bar wasn't just a chocolate, it was an endurance test and jaw workout. This legendary confection consisted of nougat covered with caramel and coated in milk chocolate, all for just 6 pence. What made it special was its remarkable density and chewiness. A single bar could occupy you for upwards of 15 minutes, making it exceptional value in inflation-ravaged Britain. The iconic TV adverts featured a cartoon cowboy who would drawl the famous slogan after taking an impossibly large bite. These commercials became so embedded in popular culture that playground impersonations of the Texan Man were a staple of 70s childhood. The bar itself was substantial, about 4 inches long, and opening one required a specific technique to avoid the caramel sticking to the wrapper. Texan bars disappeared in the mid-80s, briefly returned in 2005, then vanished again. Today's chocolates seem insubstantial by comparison. Every morning in 1970s, London began with the distinctive sound of glass bottles clinking against doorsteps as the milkman made his rounds. These iconic pint bottles with their foil tops weren't just containers. They were part of daily life's rhythm. The system was beautifully simple. The milkman delivered fresh bottles and collected empties, which were washed, sterilised and reused up to 25 times. The bottles became canvases for important messages, from health warnings to football tournament details. The foil tops came in different colours: silver for standard milk, gold for top-of-the-range gold top, with all the cream, red for semi-skimmed, and blue for skimmed. Birds knew exactly when deliveries happened and would peck through the foil for cream, leading to the invention of plastic bottle top protectors. The decline began in the 1980s as supermarkets offered cheaper plastic alternatives. Today's containers may be practical, but they'll never match that cold glass bottle on a summer morning. Spangles weren't just sweets. They were little squares of nostalgia that defined 70s childhood. These hard, fruit-flavoured candies came in a distinctive flat pack that could easily slip into a school blazer pocket without creating suspicious bulges. For just 3p, you got 14 individually wrapped squares in flavours like strawberry, blackcurrant, orange, and the divisive Old English variety with flavours like butterscotch and licorice. What made Spangles special was their versatility. You could suck them slowly or crunch them for an immediate sugar hit. The wrappers became playground currency, used for everything from makeshift footballs to origami creations. Mars regularly released limited edition flavours that caused trading frenzies. The Mystery Spangle, from 1975, which changed flavour as you sucked it, remains legendary. Spangles disappeared in the early 1980s, despite passionate campaigns for their return. Modern equivalents simply can't capture that distinctive taste and texture. Missing Spangles? Share this video with someone who'd trade their smartphone for one last taste. For mash, get smash. Few products are remembered more for their advertising than their taste. The iconic TV commercials featuring metallic robots laughing at humans for peeling, boiling and mashing potatoes became one of the most memorable ad campaigns in British history. "Earth people are so primitive," they'd chortle before collapsing in mechanical hysterics. The product itself was a space-age wonder. Dehydrated potato flakes that transformed into mashed potato when you added boiling water. The texture was nothing like real mashed potatoes, more like a strange, slightly granular paste. But in the 70s, convenience often trumped authenticity. A packet cost around 10p and could feed a family of 4, making it a staple in many London households. Smash still exists today, but it's a shadow of its former cultural significance. The robots, however, live on in advertising history, proving that sometimes the marketing outlives the product itself. "It's frothy, man." The polar bear in a beret who delivered this catchphrase became one of the most recognisable advertising icons of 70s Britain. Cresta was a fruit-flavoured carbonated soft drink that came in strawberry, lemon and orange flavours. But what made it special was the frothy head that formed when poured, like a soda milkshake hybrid. For just 9p a bottle, it was affordable luxury for kids with pocket money. The drink was garishly coloured and toothacheingly sweet, but the real selling point was the cool factor of the bear mascot. His beatnik style and laid-back attitude made Cresta seem like the rebellious choice compared to established soft drinks. The TV adverts showed him surfing on the froth, playing guitar, and being the epitome of 70s cool. Cresta disappeared in the late 1980s, unable to compete with American imports like Coca-Cola. Today's craft sodas might taste better, but they'll never match the joy of watching that frothy head form. Panda Pops were the definitive party drink of 70s childhood, luridly coloured, tooth-destroyingly sweet and costing just 10p a bottle. These fizzy drinks came in flavours that bore little resemblance to anything natural: blue raspberry, bubblegum, cherryade, and the mysterious ice cream soda that tasted nothing like ice cream. The distinctive plastic bottles with their push-on caps were staples at children's parties, school discos, and youth clubs across London. Parents loved them because they were cheap. Children loved them because the sugar content induced instant hyperactivity. The drinks contained artificial colours that would later be banned for causing hyperactivity. But in the 70s, no one worried about such things. Panda Pops finally disappeared in 2011 after concerns about sugar content and childhood obesity. Today's children will never know the joy of that first sip of violently blue liquid that stained your tongue for hours afterward. For just 1 penny, Bazooka Joe bubblegum offered not just a sweet treat but an entire entertainment package. Each piece came wrapped in a tiny comic strip featuring the adventures of Bazooka Joe and his gang, complete with an eye patch-wearing protagonist and terrible jokes that somehow seemed hilarious to 70s kids. The gum itself was rock hard initially, requiring serious jaw work before it softened enough to blow bubbles. But the real prize was the fortune or joke printed on the comic, along with offers to collect and send away for prizes like spy rings or temporary tattoos. Children would trade these comics in playgrounds, building collections and comparing jokes. The gum's flavour lasted approximately 45 seconds before turning into flavourless rubber. But that wasn't the point. It was about the experience, the comics, and the challenge of blowing the biggest bubble without it covering your face. Modern bubblegums might taste better, but they lack the cultural significance of unwrapping a Bazooka Joe. Still have your Bazooka Joe comics? Ring that notification bell for more forgotten 70s gems coming soon. The Bino wasn't just a comic, it was a weekly institution that shaped British childhood. Every Thursday, for just 2 pence, kids could enter the anarchic world of Bino Town, where Dennis the Menace terrorised Walter the Softy, the Bash Street Kids drove teachers to despair, and Minnie the Minx caused mayhem. While the Bino still exists today, the 70s version was different, printed on cheap paper that smelled distinctive and featured characters who were genuinely naughty, not the sanitised versions we see now. The jokes were simple but effective, the storylines repetitive but comforting, and the characters felt like friends who returned each week. The comic came with periodic free gifts, plastic toys, cardboard games or stickers that would cause playground frenzies. For many London children, learning to read wasn't about school books but about following speech bubbles in the Bino, making it both entertainment and education rolled into one ink-smudged package. The dandy was the Bino's great rival, and choosing between them was one of childhood's first tribal affiliations. Featuring Desperate Dan, the cowboy so tough he shaved with a blowtorch and ate cow pie complete with horns, the dandy offered a slightly different flavour of anarchic humour for just 2 pence every week. The comic's distinctive red masthead was a beacon on newsagent shelves, promising adventures with Corky the cat, Beryl the peril, and dozens of other characters who existed purely to cause chaos and undermine authority figures. The dandy of the 70s was printed on cheap paper that left ink on your fingers and was devoured by children the moment it arrived. Unlike its rival, the dandy ceased print publication in 2012 after 75 years, unable to compete with digital entertainment. Today's children, raised on smartphones and tablets, will never know the simple pleasure of turning those flimsy pages to see what trouble Desperate Dan had gotten himself into this week. Embassy cigarette cards were the 70s equivalent of Pokémon, collectible items that children traded, compared and coveted, despite their origin in products they couldn't legally buy. Each pack of Embassy cigarettes contained a card from various series: footballers, cars, aircraft, wildlife or famous landmarks, creating a collecting frenzy among school children. The cards were beautifully printed with a colour image on the front and facts on the back, making them educational as well as desirable. Children would hang around outside pubs and tobacconists asking adults to save the cards for them, or raid their parents' cigarette packs before they could be thrown away. Complete sets could be sent away for albums, and a full album was a serious status symbol in the playground. This strange intersection of adult vices and children's collecting habits would be unthinkable today. But in the 70s, no one questioned the appropriateness of children collecting items from cigarette packs. The practice died out as tobacco advertising restrictions tightened. Before it rebranded as a sports drink, Lucasade was strictly a medicinal product that came in a distinctive glass bottle wrapped in yellow cellophane. The glucose drink was marketed as an energy restorer for those recovering from illness, and the sight of that yellow-wrapped bottle by someone's bedside was a universal signal that they were unwell. The glass bottle had a unique shape, narrow at the top, bulbous in the middle, and the cellophane wrapper made a satisfying crinkle when handled. The drink itself was carbonated and sickly sweet, but somehow became associated with recovery. Parents would only buy it when children were ill, giving it a special treat status despite its medicinal purpose. In the mid-80s, Lucasade rebranded as an energy drink for active people rather than sick ones, changing its packaging to plastic bottles and losing that distinctive yellow wrapper. The taste changed too, becoming less syrupy. Today's energy drink market bears little resemblance to that simple glass bottle that signaled both illness and the treat that made being sick slightly more bearable. In the style-conscious 70s, even the most private bathroom activities got a fashion makeover with coloured toilet paper. Available in pink, blue, green, yellow, and even black for the truly adventurous, coloured toilet paper was considered the height of bathroom sophistication in London homes. The paper itself was often scented as well as coloured, adding an extra sensory dimension to what had previously been a purely functional product. Matching your toilet paper to your bathroom suite, which itself might be avocado, pink, or powder blue, was a serious interior design consideration discussed in women's magazines and demonstrated in department store displays. Health concerns about the dyes and chemicals used, combined with growing environmental awareness, eventually led to the demise of coloured toilet paper. By the 1990s, white recycled paper had become the socially responsible choice. Today's younger generation might find it hard to believe that something as basic as toilet paper was once a fashion statement, but in 70s London, your choice of bathroom tissue colour spoke volumes about your style credentials. And there you have it. 20 things from 70s London that have vanished from our shops and lives. While some disappeared for good reasons, those cigarette vending machines probably weren't the best idea, others represent a simpler, more tactile time before digital took over. If you enjoyed this nostalgic journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell for more videos exploring Britain's vibrant past. Until next time, keep those memories alive.